Hello friends, hope your summer's been going well. Today it's one of my idols, someone I admire greatly as both a poet, a filmmaker and as an incredible human being, Gulzar saab, or Sampuran Singh Kalra as he was born. 18th of August 1936 is the official date of birth. He was born to a Sikh family in a small village in Jhelum district, British India in Punjab. Now it's in Pakistan. The family moved to Delhi after partition. His father was a man who helped everyone in his family. So there were numerous people coming in from the villages everywhere to Delhi to be with the family. And Makhan Singh Kalra was taking care of all these people. Due to all of these financial obligations, he had Gulzar saab go and live in Bombay with his oldest brother, Jasmeer Singh Kalra, after he finished his 10th standard. He felt that Gulzar saab would be given a better education and more attention and so on if he moved to Bombay. He did. He attended Khalsa College, and unfortunately in Bombay at the time, they didn't offer Urdu. He was forced to take mathematics of all things. Part-time, he used to go and take care of his older brother's petrol pump. And in his free time, he was drawn towards the Indian People's Theatre Association and the Progressive Writers Association, where he met all the progressive writers like Sahir Ludhianvi, Kaifi Azmi, Faiz Ahmed Faiz, Shailendra ji. And then the Punjabi Sahitya Sabha was another place where he used to go, and there he met Balraj Sahani, Gurvel Singh Pannu, all the greats of that time. In fact, Gurvel Singh Pannu, who was a very staunch communist and didn't believe in religion and such, actually persuaded Gulzar saab to cut his hair. Gulzar saab was a poet from a very young age. And he always wanted to pursue a career in writing. However, due to illness and stuff, he had to stop his academics after his intermediate. He wasn't even able to complete his intermediate because he fell ill. He gave up academics and he started working in his brother's friend's garage where he was doing paint touch-ups for cars and such. This gave him a lot of free time to think about his writing, and he wrote a lot of poetry, short stories and so on. And a close family friend was working for Bimalda at Bimal Roy Productions, and he introduced Gulzar saab to Debu Sen, who was Bimalda's assistant. Debu Sen decided to introduce Gulzar saab to Bimalda. This was around the time they were making Bandhani. Here's what happened. Shailendra ji, who was the lyricist, the original lyricist for the movie, had some kind of a misunderstanding with S.D. Burman, who was the music director. They were looking for a different person to write lyrics. And Debu Sen said, hey, you know what, this young man here is very talented. Bimalda, you should meet him. So Bimalda met this young Sikh who went under the pen name of Gulzar and spoke Bengali fluently. He was very impressed by this young man. I mean, who wouldn't be, right? And he decided to give him a chance. So the first song for Bandhani was written actually by Gulzar saab, Mora Gora Ang Laile. He wrote the song. Around this point, Shailendra ji and S.D. Burman made up their differences, and now S.D. Burman wanted Shailendra ji back on the project. Shailendra ji, being the incredibly decent human being that he was very hesitant because he didn't want to deprive this young man of his first job as a lyricist. So he was hesitant to come back. But Gulzar saab told him, you know, that this is the right thing to do, and Shailendra ji came back. Bimalda felt very bad about this whole shortchanging of Gulzar saab, and he gave Gulzar saab a job to work as his assistant. So he was assistant director for Bandhani with Bimalda, and this started off his filmy safar. This song is so exquisitely written and has been performed so beautifully by Nutan on screen, and of course Lata Mangeshkar singing it. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Mora Gora Ang Laile.
Mora Gora Ang Laile, Mohe Sham Rang De De, Chup jaungi raat hi mein, Mohe pee ka sang de de. Mora Gora Ang Laile, Mohe Sham Rang De De, Chup jaungi raat hi mein, Mohe pee ka sang de de.
Gulzar Saab was the only child of the second wife of Sardar Makhan Singh Khalra, Sujan Kaur. She passed away in Gulzar Saab's infancy. He was always a very different kind of a person from the rest of his family. A very dreamy, thoughtful child, very interested in literature and poetry from a very, very young age. He grew up being a very voracious reader. Apparently that still holds true, according to his daughter. He also was very interested in Bengali literature. When he was very young, he used to spend a lot of time in the evenings at his father's shop in Old Delhi. Nearby there were a lot of booksellers, other booksellers and stuff, and one of them ran sort of a circulating library. This young boy was such a quick reader that this man could hardly keep up with Gulzar Saab's demands. So he ended up giving Gulzar Saab books that were less popular. Among these was a collection of Rabindranath Tagore's poetry. Gulzar Saab loved it, and he started looking for similar books. He found Sharat Chandra Chatterjee and other Bengali authors, and then what ended up happening was he was moved to actually learn the original language so that he could read these people in their original language, which is always the best thing, right? Translations don't quite get the sort of the essence of what the person is trying to say. There were several Bengalis in his neighborhood. They helped him become very fluent in Bengali, and this of course helped him greatly when he worked with the Bimal Roy crew. The actual first movie that he worked on, even though he signed Bandini first, was Kabuliwala. This was released before Bandini in '61, and he was assistant director for this. He also wrote a song for this movie. It was directed by Hemen Gupta. This song has been picturized beautifully. I've seen this in other Bimal Roy movies, where songs didn't mean that the main character only sang it. It was picturized on various people, not necessarily the hero or the protagonist of the story. This is no exception. There is a sadhu sitting on the river bank, on the banks of the Ganga, and he is singing this song. It's a highly philosophical song, and the Kabuliwala, played by the great Balraj Sahani, he's just sitting there and listening to the song in a sort of a wistful way. Hemant Kumar's voice just lends itself very beautifully to this kind of lilting melody, Salilda's melody. It really feels like you can almost hear the river flowing, with this tune. It's just gorgeous. Ganga aaye kahan se, Ganga jaye kahan re, lehraye pani mein jaise dhoop chhaav mein.
Ganga aaye kahan se, Ganga jaye kahan re, लहराए पानी में जैसे धूप छाँव रे। गंगा आए कहाँ से गंगा जाए कहाँ रे, लहराए पानी में जैसे धूप छाँव रे। रात कारी दिन उजियारा मिल गए दोनों साए। रात कारी दिन उजियारा मिल गए दोनों साए। साँझ न देखो रंग रूप के कैसे भेद मिटाए रे, लहराए पानी में जैसे धूप छाँव रे। गंगा आए कहाँ से गंगा जाए कहाँ रे, लहराए पानी में जैसे धूप छाँव रे। कांच कोई माटी कोई रंग बिरंगे प्याले, कांच कोई माटी कोई रंग बिरंगे प्याले। प्यास लगे तो एक बराबर जिसमें पानी डाले रे, लहराए पानी में जैसे धूप छाँव रे। गंगा आए कहाँ से गंगा जाए कहाँ रे, लहराए पानी में जैसे धूप छाँव रे।
Gulzar saab went on, after working with Bimalda, on to writing scripts and lyrics for other movies as well. And on this journey, he met and made some very, very good friends like Sanjeev Kumar and R.D. Burman, Meena Kumari. He and Meena Kumari had a very unique, very close friendship. She was a fine poet herself and she encouraged Gulzar saab in his writing as well. The two of them became very, very close friends, and in her will, she left him all her poetry, and he helped publish this as well as a sign of respect for a very good friend. It was not unusual that he picked her as one of the key characters in his first directorial venture, Mere Apne. This was a fantastic movie. It was a remake of a Bengali movie. Gulzar saab reworked the script. He made it less commercial and much more natural. And Vinod Khanna, Shatrughan Sinha are the protagonists in this movie. It was one of those movies that was key in helping Vinod Khanna move from villain roles to becoming mainstream hero. The story is about the politicization of disaffected urban youth. It's a very, very powerful statement of a movie. At the box office, it had above average returns, so I guess you could sort of say it was a hit. Critically though, brilliant. People loved it. It basically took the country by storm in the sense that no one had ever dared to criticize the government ever so directly. The song I want to share with you, it's really awesome. It's a satire, it's very sarcastic. And what is amazing is that it's apt even to this day. Haal chal theek thaak hai.
हाल चाल ठीक ठाक है, सब कुछ ठीक ठाक है। हाल चाल ठीक ठाक है, सब कुछ ठीक ठाक है। बीए किया है एमए किया, लगता है वो भी एमए किया। बीए किया है एमए किया, लगता है वो भी एमए किया। काम नहीं है वरना यहाँ आपकी दुआ से सब ठीक ठाक है। हाल चाल ठीक ठाक है, सब कुछ ठीक ठाक है। वाह 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 वाह। आबो हवा देश की बहुत साफ है, कायदा है कानून है इंसाफ है। अल्लाह मियाँ जाने कोई जिए या मरे, आदमी को खून वून सब माफ है। आबो हवा देश की बहुत साफ है, कायदा है कानून है इंसाफ है। अल्लाह मियाँ जाने कोई जिए या मरे, आदमी को खून वून सब माफ है। और क्या कहूँ, छोटी मोटी चोरी रिश्वत खोरी देती है अपना गुजारा यहाँ। आपकी दुआ से बाकी ठीक ठाक है, हाल चाल ठीक ठाक है, सब कुछ ठीक ठाक है।
Gulzar Saab has this very unique way of mixing senses. That's the best way I can phrase it, you know, where he combines sort of the sense of smell with seeing and so on. He's been criticized for this characteristic, but I think he has more admirers than detractors of this trait. For example, the song that I'd like to share with you next. It's from the film Khamoshi, a female-centric movie. A very strong feminine role in this movie, deals with mental illness. One of Wahida Ji's best roles, I think, of her career. Dharmendra and Rajesh Khanna are the male protagonists. They have minor roles. Rajesh Khanna has sort of a bigger role than Dharmendra in this movie, but it's out and out a Wahida Ji movie. This song, you have to listen to the whole song. The lyrics are just exquisite, characteristic Gulzar Saab. I mean, you listen to it, you know this is Gulzar Saab's writing, and sung by Lata Ji ever so sweetly. Hemant Kumar's music. I mean, there's really nothing more to say. हमने देखी है उन आँखों की महकती खुशबू, हाथ से छू के इसे रिश्तों का इल्ज़ाम ना दो. He's talking about how he is smelling the fragrance of somebody's eyes, eyes that are like dancing, you know. Okay. You see what I mean, but you can understand what he's saying, you can feel what he means. So it's incredible. I hope you enjoy this song.
हमने देखी है उन आँखों की महकती खुशबू, हाथ से छू के इसे रिश्तों का इल्जाम न दो. सिर्फ एहसास है ये, रूह से महसूस करो. प्यार को प्यार ही रहने दो, कोई नाम न दो. हमने देखी है उन आँखों की महकती खुशबू, हाथ से छू के इसे रिश्तों का इल्जाम न दो. हमने देखी है.
Gulzar Saab is a multifaceted, multi-talented individual. I cannot encompass the entire breadth and depth of his work in just one episode. I'll be back with more. I have to talk about him not just as a poet, but as a filmmaker, as a father, as a friend, as someone who makes political statements. So many things to discuss about him. I will be back with more in the future about him. I deeply love and admire him. I'm sure you all can tell. I'll be back in 2 weeks. And until then, remember, music is food for the soul. Keep listening.